Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here, turning the 4-game NBA main slate on Saturday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports, daily fantasy sports slates. Before we get into the analysis, thank you guys again for all the support. Currently now at 4.37 thousand subscribers. All the content is free, so the easiest way to support me is just leave a like button on the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. You know when I upload videos. Tomorrow, we'll be doing a special live stream with Connor Jones. He's a pitcher in the St. Louis Cardinals organization. We're going to be streaming on his Twitch. So I will put that in the description below. Going to be talking about, obviously, the 4-game slate tomorrow. So I will not be live streaming on my channel tomorrow. I will be live streaming on Connor Jones' Twitch. Twitch channel, which is the streaming platform. I will link it in the description below. Probably an hour or so before lock will be a longer stream because it's the weekend, so we got a little bit more time. So I'll link that in the description below. More details to come, so make sure to keep up with that on Twitter. Also, if you guys cannot watch the videos, I do upload on Apple Podcasts. Link is in the description below, which is the DKDFS show. All right, with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So before we get into the breakdown for this for Saturday's slate, what we can do quickly look back my lineup here from Friday. So Friday, I took a risk. I told you guys basically where I was going. I knew the blowout was real in that first game, the blowout chance. It did blow out. So let's go over the guys I played. Lowry, him, Fred VanVleet, Siakam. I liked all three. I just figured Lowry might go the lowest owned of the three, so I went with him. Missed out in 6 minutes at the end there, so he was on pace to have a really, really solid day at 7.8K. LeVert, this is an interesting one. I was really high on him for sure. He had a great first half again. This is back-to-back games now where he's disappeared in the second half. Now, I watched the first half, and it looked good, right? Their offense was LeVert, Allen, pick and roll, let Karis LeVert make a play. I don't know what happened in the second half. I didn't get to watch a lot of it. I heard he played off-ball a lot, which doesn't make sense. So that's something I'll have to do a little bit, dig into that a little bit more. Obviously, the blowout hurt. He probably would have still got value if the game was close. But, yeah, it was a risk I was willing to take. I told you guys, if I was playing cash games, probably avoid this slate. So if you guys avoid this game. So if you avoided the game, you're probably in pretty decent shape. Temple and TLC. So I didn't really want to play these guys. Who I wanted to play was Tyler Johnson. I told you guys that. But I didn't have the guard room because I was playing Lowry, I was playing LeVert, I was playing Lou Williams. I was not getting off those guys. So I just didn't have room because I was going the two punting at centers with Cantor and Harrell. Obviously, super risky play to Cantor. I'm just hoping Brad Stevens gives him the minutes. I went super, super risky, as you can see. It was Tyler Johnson had the big game. He was the guy that I wanted to get to. I just couldn't because there's only so many guard spots. Temple and TLC. They shot 5 of 30. They shot 5 of 30, guys. Let that just sink into your head for a bit. 5 of 30. All right. I knew they weren't amazing value, but what we're going to get out of Temple and TLC is the huge minutes. The minutes were there. The shot attempts were there. I literally told you guys, the role's not going to change. They have to knock down their shots. They did not hit their shots. It was a risk I was willing to take because it correlated, right? Because LeVert was the guy kicking it out to them. If they're hitting their threes, I get the assist for LeVert. I get the 3 for Temple TLC. They just couldn't hit a goddamn shot. So, yeah, a little bit tilted there. So it's going to be an L for me. I want Lou, Doncic, and Harrell in the late slate or in the late game. It's not going to be enough unless something crazy happens. So that's a look back there of Friday's slate. Let's talk about Saturday's slate. So we have the Bucks, we have the Magic. It's a 226 over under. Milwaukee's 12-point favorites. We're still waiting on Aaron Gordon news there, which obviously changes a lot of things. We have the Pacers, the Heat. It's a 214 over under. Miami are 5-point favorites. Rockets, Thunder, 224 over under. The Rockets are 3.5-point favorites, and the Lakers, Trailblazers, a late night hammer here, 225 over under. Lakers are 7.5-point favorites. So let's start with center today, and Anthony Davis at 10-2. Oh, man, I was all over him last slate at low ownership. He absolutely crushed. Unfortunately, the game blew out, but I still ended up sneaking into the cash there, even with AD only playing 3/4. He was on pace for over 70 fantasy points. Yeah, there really wasn't I just knew people would flock to LeBron after that big 70-point game when LeBron won me the GPP. The ownership was more than double on LeBron than AD last time. It's just, a lot of the times I like going to guys who have an off game because the ownership drops. I talked about that with Lowry and Fred VanVleet today. I was on Fred VanVleet the first 2 games. I knew the ownership was up. It wasn't actually as high as I thought it would be compared to Lowry. Like Fred VanVleet was like close to 25%. Lowry was only 15%. Lowry still outscored him, I think, by like 1. I said both are even plays, but I'm just going to go Lowry today for the ownership. With AD and LeBron on this slate, so we got to talk about the slight blowout risk. Lillard did dislocate his finger, so and they got absolutely killed last game. So there is a slight chance the game could blow out, but both the Lakers studs look good. AD at 10-2, LeBron's at 10-6. So I have absolutely no issue with either of those guys. I think you do have to take the blowout slightly in consideration if that finger really does bother Lillard, because Lillard has to hit shots if Portland wants to stay in this one. So both Lakers studs look really good. It's probably the best matchup on the board against Portland. So yeah, both Lakers guys look really, really good. Vucevic at 9.1K. I know he's had back-to-back good games. The price isn't moving on him. This one's tricky. If Aaron Gordon is out, I feel like Milwaukee blows him out of the water in this game. That's just kind of a gut feeling. I know Orlando has stayed relatively close, made the game competitive the last couple. They won the first game and then made the second game actually competitive. I feel like this could be the game where Milwaukee blows him out of the water. I'm fine if you get to Vucevic, right? He is Orlando's only chance if they want to keep it close or even win, especially if Aaron Gordon is out. So I don't have an issue with Vucevic. If I was going to play Vucevic, I would probably play Giannis in the same lineup just for correlation, because obviously Orlando keeps it close. It's because of a big game for Vucevic, and if the game stays close, Giannis is going to play 35-plus minutes. So, could be some correlation there. But as a one lineup guy, I don't know if I'm going to get to him. Same thing with Nurkic here at 8-9. I can't prioritize him on this slate. Just still too expensive. Now, Bam Adebayo at 7-3. Again, you guys know I like buying into guys after a bad game. I'm very interested in Bam. He was pretty high on the last slate and was a huge letdown. He did get into a little bit of foul trouble, but really was shocked that he had that floor game in this type of matchup against Indiana. So I feel like he's going to want to come out and put on a lot better show. The 7.3K price I just think looks really, really solid. So I have a good amount of interest in Bam here. I think the ownership might drop after the last game, but I like him quite a bit in the mid-range. Miles Turner, I'm just not going to do it. He literally has to have like one of those 5-block games to get close to value. He still only had 39 fantasy points with 5 blocks. Just would much rather get to Bam Adebayo for a little bit more. Now, Steven Adams intrigues me at 5'9". Played 30 minutes the last game, had a good start, kind of cooled off. The good thing is just, OKC seems pretty determined to just give Steven Adams the minutes. They're not going to match a small ball, so he's going to get close to 30 minutes no matter what, as long as nothing crazy happens like foul trouble. And it's just a big mismatch, right? Like, no one on Houston can really stay with Steven Adams. So I have interest in him. If we're going to get 30 minutes from Steven Adams against a small ball Houston team, I think he's pretty solid play in the mid-range. Brook Lopez is at 5'3". I'm fine with it. Again, he kind of has to knock down those threes like he did last game. He shot the ball 8 of 12. Still only went for 29 fantasy points. He's not a guy that's going to get a lot of rebounds because he's like a score-independent center, as weird as that sounds, but he literally, that's his role right now. Like, Giannis is going to get all the rebounds. So I'm okay with Brook Lopez. When he's knocking down the shots, the upside is there, right? He had 34 real-life points and 49 fantasy points. So I'm fine with it. I don't know if I'm going to get to him. I'm not getting to Jeff Green. I know the secondary Houston pieces played really well. He did play 37 minutes too, but I guess he's okay. I mean, if he's going to get 35 minutes at under 5K, I think he's all right, but probably still not for me. Whiteside is the guy that I'm interested in at 4.6. Played 22 minutes. The game blew out. He would have played a little bit more if the game stayed close. Went for 24 and a half fantasy points in 22 minutes. If we get 25 to 30 minutes out of Whiteside, we have Zach Collins out for the season. So I think we're going to get that around that for Whiteside. He's a really good point per minute guy. I think when he has the most upside, obviously, is when Nurkic rests on the bench and Whiteside plays the 5, so they can do the pick and roll. He can get offensive rebounds. I think Whiteside's a really solid play. He went under the radar last slate. Didn't go that high owned, but I like him again this slate. I don't mind going back to the wall. Callio's at 4.5. I just can't do it. Not enough minutes for me to consider him. PJ Tucker's at 4.4. I'm not going to do it. Basley not getting enough minutes for me at 4.3. The Lakers centers, Dwight and McGee, have actually been solid. They're both going to play 15-ish minutes. McGee, I played him the first slate. He went for 18. Last slate, he went for 24.5. That's probably his ceiling in like 15 minutes. Is about 20-plus fantasy points. So I'm okay with it. If you need a punt, just know you're not going to get the big minutes out of him. So like he has to be really productive, which he can be. So I'm fine with it. It's a little bit of a riskier play just because the minutes won't be there. Gary Clark's at 3.6. This is strictly dependent on Aaron Gordon. If Aaron Gordon's out, Gary Clark's a viable punt. Not a guy that has huge upside, but if you're going stars and scrubs, I completely get it, right? Probably close to 30 minutes from a guy at under 4K. Certainly viable if you're going that stars and scrubs route. All right, I think that basically wraps it up. So let's move on to power forward. Giannis Antetokounmpo's at 11K. He had a pretty solid game there. Went for 28 and 20 and 5 assists. Had no blocks and no steals, which is an outlier for him. Normally, Giannis is a guy that'll at least pick up a couple blocks, a couple steals. So the price went down on him a little bit. My worry is, does Milwaukee just blow out Orlando this game? It's kind of a gut feeling. If Aaron Gordon can't go, I feel like Milwaukee just destroys him this game. So it's a risk, right? If you're playing a guy like Vucevic, I think it makes sense to run it back with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Right now, my first thought is to avoid this game. Maybe get like one piece of Orlando value or two pieces of Orlando value if Aaron Gordon is out. But it's nothing more than kind of just a gut feeling right now that I think Milwaukee might blow him out this game. Let's see. Yeah, Warren at 8K. I'm not going to do it. Indiana, to be honest, most of the guys are just an easy fade, at least on this slate. It's a tough match against Miami. I don't think I'm going to get to anyone on the Pacers. So Aaron Gordon, 6'6". He's missed the first couple games here in the playoffs, dealing with a hamstring injury. If he plays, that really takes a hit to a lot of that Magic value. If he's out, it's kind of the same guys, right? It's Clark, it's Ennis, it's the 2 point guards, and Augustine. And Fultz that I would probably look to. Like Fournier and Ross are viable, but they literally have to hit their shots because that's all they're going to do is shoot. They're going to do like nothing else. Gallinari at 6'3". I'm not going to do it. I would prefer the other OKC guys. Roko's at 6'2". His Mets are going down right now. Jeff Green's playing really well. So I'm not paying 6.2K for Robert Covington. I'm not paying 5.8 for Kuzma. I'm also not paying 5.6 for Melo. Daniel House had a really solid game. We're not going to get like the absolute 4 game from Harden where he like didn't shoot. So I'm not going to chase the Daniel House 36 fantasy point game. For me, it's Harden and it's Eric Gordon. I think Jeff Green is viable, but I'm probably not going to do it. Really, the two guys I'm looking to for upside, it's Harden, it's Eric Gordon on Houston. James Ennis at 4.3. If Aaron Gordon's out, I think we get 25 to 30 minutes from him. Would be a viable punt. The price is slowly coming up, though. He's no longer like great value, right? He was 3.4 the first slate. Now he's 4.3. So I think he'd be fine, but not my favorite value play. And Bazley's not playing enough minutes for me to consider him. Crowder's questionable, as well as Derek Jones Jr. I think they're going to go. It's tricky because we have Dragic, Hero, Jimmy, and Bam all going to play around 35 minutes. So that last spot is up for grabs, and no one's going to play huge minutes. Like Duncan's going to play 25. Crowder's going to play 25. Kelly O will play about 15. Derek Jones Jr., if he plays, will play about 10. Iguodala will play about 25. So, yeah, I think Jay Crowder's okay in about 25 minutes. I think he's solid value. But, yeah, got to keep an eye on the ankle injury. Other options, like Wenyen Gabriel's at 3.4. He probably starts again, probably gets 15-ish minutes if you really need a punt. I don't hate it, but not a guy that has huge upside, obviously. And that's really it for power forward. So let's move on to small forward. Again, LeBron, AD. LeBron had the off game last game after he was a lot more popular. Just had a bad game, but the secondary pieces and AD absolutely went off, so LeBron didn't really need to do a whole lot. It's a great matchup for the Lakers, right? They're in the best spot matchup-wise on this slate. So if Portland keeps it close, you could definitely see upside game from either LeBron or AD or both. I mean, both are going to push for 40 minutes. I would not be worried about that 27-minute, 29 fantasy point from LeBron James. So yeah, I have interest in both of those Lakers studs. Again, I'm not going to get to Warren. Middleton at 7-9, I just can't do it right now. Had 2 points. Like, sure, you can try to buy low. You're going to get him at super low ownership. The price went up on him. You know, if the price went down to like 6.5, then I would consider him, but I can't do it right now. Jimmy Butler at 6.76 looks pretty solid. It was kind of the role players that stepped up there for Miami, right? Duncan Robinson had a really good shooting day. Like Hero, Dragic were solid. A couple other guys kind of stopped. Like Kelly O in his time was pretty good. So Bam and Jimmy didn't have to do a whole lot, which can happen at times, right? The role players can step up, but I would say more often than not, it's going to be Jimmy, it's going to be Bam in this offense, and they're both going to play 35-plus minutes. Jimmy in the mid-range looks good. Again, I like Bam in the mid-range too. I think they look really solid. I'm not scared of Indiana defensively, so those 2 plays are once again 2 of my favorite plays in the mid-range. Yeah, I'm not getting to Gallo. I'm not getting to Rocco. Oladipo's at 6'1", played 37 minutes. I think he's okay, but just no one looks great on this Pacers team. They just all seem priced right, and it's kind of like the worst matchup against Miami, so I just don't think I'm going to get to anyone on the Pacers. Now, Eric Gordon at 5'1" is a guy that I have interest in. Shot the ball terribly. 6 of 20. Still went for 30 fantasy points. So he is their number 2 right now. When Harden is off the court, it's Eric Gordon. And we had, again, more of an outlier game. Like Danuel House is not going to play that well last game, like he did last game. We're not going to see that Austin Rivers performance again, most likely. So I think it goes back to Eric Gordon. I think it goes back to Harden. 33 minutes is good to see. The issue with Eric Gordon is he is a little bit scoring dependent. But if we're going to get close to 20 shots out of him, I think you have to have interest. So Eric Gordon, I like quite a bit here for Houston, even at 5'1". Terrence Ross at 5K. Him, Fournier. I think I would just rather get to the other Magic value because these guys literally, they have to hit their shots. If Terrence Ross is not hitting his shots like he did last game where he shot 4 of 14, the floor is low. If he is shooting his shots, he can go for 30 plus. I don't know if, like, he's not a great value at 5K, so probably wouldn't do it. Duncan Robinson, I'm not paying 4.9 for him. I mentioned him being my favorite Heat value last slate. He had a really good shooting day. Went 7 of 8, 34 fantasy points. The thing is, we're only going to get, looks like 25 minutes from him. Like it doesn't look like he's coming back in the 4th. I think unless Miami's down, then he might. But if Miami has a lead, like they're going to have their defensive lineup out there, which is like a guy like Iguodala closing the game. So I just don't like paying when a guy gets this big of a price hike, and I think the ownership might still be there. Like this is where I'll probably pass on Duncan Robinson. I'm not getting to Gary Trent either. Again, he literally has to hit his shots. He did not last game. He had 11 fantasy points. He did not the previous game. He had 7 fantasy points. He's out there strictly to hit threes. I'm not paying almost 5K for him. Connaughton had a really solid game. Went for 40 fantasy points. Kind of out of nowhere. Don't really know what to make of this. I'm probably not going to do it. Milwaukee, the secondary, like they still run like an 11-man rotation even in the playoffs. It's just tricky. I think the ownership will be up on him. People will just focus on the last game. The upside it can be there in Connaughton, but the upside the floor can also be low, like the first game, 22 minutes, 8 fantasy points. I'm probably going to stay away. I just think the ownership might go up on him a bit. People will look at the last game and play him. I'm probably not going to do it. I'm not going to get to Justin Holiday at 4-1. I know he was solid last game in 29 minutes. I'm not going to do it. KCP, Danny Green, they have to hit their threes. KCP was shooting well, but you probably get 25-ish minutes. If you want to rely on them hitting threes, that's fine, but I don't think I'm going to do it. I'm not getting to Dort. I'm not getting to McLemore. I'm not getting to Diallo. Iguodala at 3-7. We probably get 25 minutes from him. The issue is he's really not doing a whole lot right now with those minutes. So I put him almost in the like him and Jay Crowder are pretty similar plays. Both will play about 25 minutes. Crowder might have a little bit more upside right now than Iguodala. So I think both those wings are fine for value. If you really need someone for a cheap option. Waiters, they got extended a bit because of the blowout. It doesn't look like he was on pace for big minutes anyway, so probably not going to do it. Same with J.R. Smith. They got in the rotation, but if the game stayed close, I don't think they were going to get enough minutes for us to consider them. And then obviously it takes a hit for everyone else in the Lakers, so secondary pieces. Let's talk about shooting guard. Harden, he was absolutely terrible last game. He shot the ball 16 times with no Russell Westbrook in the playoffs. I couldn't believe my eyes watching that game. We saw passive James Harden. I'm going right back to the well. The ownership's going to drop. I don't think we get that passive Harden again. Maybe we do, but I'm going right back to Harden. I just think the upside is absolutely enormous with no Russell Westbrook. I'm not really worried about this game blowing out, whereas Giannis, you kind of have to worry about that. So I'm going right back to Harden. He's one of my favorite spend-ups. I think the ownership does drop on him. I think we get a better game here from Harden. The upside is absolutely enormous. It's 80-plus fantasy points when playing well. So sure, the price is up. You're probably going to have to sacrifice a good amount to get him in. But if we get like 20% owned Harden with no Russell Westbrook, yeah, I'm good with that. I'm not getting to 7.5 CJ. SGA finally had a decent game for 44.5 fantasy points, but did have 31 real-life points. Like, a little bit scoring dependent right now. And the price is up. I'm not going to do it. Again, I'm not going to Oladipo. Schroeder at 5.7. I don't mind him for his price. I think he's a solid play in the mid-range. We're going to get 32-ish minutes from him. It's a good matchup for these OKC guards. Hasn't really had a big game in a while, but when Schroeder is shooting the ball well, the upside is there. 40, 43, and he's the cheapest of the bunch for the Thunder. So I still have a little bit of interest in him. Hero, the minutes right now are solid on him. 34 and 35. He's going to shoot the ball when he's out there. I think he's a pretty solid play in the mid-range as well. Yeah, Fournier, same thing with Terrence Ross. Right now they're just scoring-dependent guards. They have to hit their shots. If Aaron Gordon is out, you could look to these guys. I think one probably has a decent game, but the blowout risk is real. Don't play Kendrick Nunn. He's not in the rotation. Aaron Holiday's at 4-4. Only got 21 minutes out of him. The two Holidays, I guess, are okay for value, but I don't think I would do it. Rivers, he actually had a good game in 25 minutes, 24 fantasy points. I'm not doing it. Just get to Eric Gordon for a little bit more, or get all the way up to James Harden. We had a very balanced attack for Houston last game, that's not normal for them. Normally, it's give the ball to James Harden and get out of the way. So I think it goes more back to that instead of a balanced attack. So it's Harden, it's Eric Gordon for me on Houston. DiVincenzo, I don't think he's getting enough minutes. Yeah, only played 11 minutes last game. Caruso's at 3.6. I'm not going to do it. I think possibly a punt, if he plays, is Rajon Rondo. Like, if Rondo plays and gets 15 to 20 minutes, I'll talk about that. I think he actually makes for a pretty decent value play. Yeah, that really does it. So let's talk about point guard, and then we can get out of here. Again, I already talked about really liking Harden. Lillard at below 11K now is just a contrarian play for me. When playing well, he can definitely go for 60+, but I prefer James Harden for a little bit more. I prefer Giannis at almost the identical price. I prefer the two Lakers studs to Lillard. So I put Lillard in the same category as Vucevic. If their team is going to stay in the game, we're going to probably have to see a big game from Lillard. We're probably going to have to see a big game from Vucevic, but I'm not going to do it. Again, we have no Russell Westbrook still. CP3, the price went down a little bit on him at 7.8. He had more of a floor game. Went for 26 fantasy points. I would prefer him to SGA just because he's going to have the ball in his hands more. He is a guy that can have like a triple-double like he did almost that first game. So I have interest in CP3. I think he's a pretty solid play in the mid-range. If I'm going more balanced, which I could, right now I'm leaning a little bit towards stars and scrubs. We'll see. But if I go balanced, it'll probably be one of those OKC guards, whether it be CP3 and Schroeder, and pair him with one of those Miami guys, whether it be Bam or Jimmy. Like, I think that's how I would go about a balanced approach to start, at least. Brogdon's at 6'9". I think he would be the one pacer I would look to. Just because he is playing enormous minutes, almost 40 minutes. He has the ball in his hands a ton. He's a guy that can definitely get you a double-double. Like, no doubt, definitely can get 10-plus assists. If he's going to have like Goran Dragic on him, like that's a solid matchup, or even Tyler Hero. So Brogdon would be the guy I would look to for the Pacers. If I had to pick, it would be him, just because he has that high floor of the assist, and when he's shooting the ball well, he can definitely get you, 40-plus fancy points, and the price looks okay at 6'9". So Brogdon's the guy for me if I was going to pick an Indiana Pacer. Dragic at 6K, I know the price is slowly coming up in him, but I still think he's viable. 34 and 32 minutes is good to see. The shot attempts will be there. He is a guy that will do it all, too. He can get assists, rebounds, obviously score the ball. He's a good shooter. So I have interest in Goran Dragic in the mid-range. I definitely prefer, I think safer options would be Jimmy and Bam Adebayo for a little bit more. But don't cross off Dragic. Bledsoe's at 5'5", 28 and 26 minutes. I still think an upside game here has got to, we got to see an upside game here for Bledsoe soon. Like, the price still looks good. I know it's there for him. I know he can get 40-plus when playing well. I still have interest in him in the mid-range, too. I just feel like a big game's coming from him. I definitely prefer Bledsoe to Middleton for the 2K discount if you're going to make me pick a secondary piece on the Bucks. My worry, like I said, with Giannis is I think there's a decent chance it does blow out. Fultz at 4-5 is certainly in play. We probably get mid-20s to maybe 30 minutes from him. If Aaron Gordon's out, yeah, I think he's viable, right? He'll have to shoot the ball a ton. He's a guy that can get you some assists, too. So would have interest in Fultz if Aaron Gordon's out. Also would have interest in DJ Augustin at 4-2. They actually did run him and Fultz a little bit more together, which is good to see. 28 minutes from DJ Augustin. Didn't shoot the ball well, but still went for 19 fancy points. Like, these are two guys that I would look to for value options if Aaron Gordon's out. Finally, George Hill's at 3.7. He had more of a floor game, only 19 minutes, which is a little bit concerning. Like, the minutes are just up and down on some of these Milwaukee guys. I think he's a viable, cheap option. I don't think we get 9 fancy points from him again. I think we get somewhere between 15 to 25. So I think he's definitely in play for value. The tricky part is, again, Milwaukee they're running such a deep rotation. Again, the last guy I'll mention here is Rondo. If Rondo plays, and he's not going to be limited, which if he plays, I don't think he will because it's a thumb injury. I think he'll be fine conditioning-wise. So if we get 20 minutes out of Rajon Rondo at 3-2 against Portland, I think it looks really, really good. So we'll see. I think this is a big piece of news. So I would like him quite a bit for a value option if he's going to play and if he's not going to be limited. I think that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. Again, guys, I will not be live streaming on my YouTube channel. I'll be live streaming on Connor Jones' Twitch channel. The link is in the description below. I'll tweet it out tomorrow just so you guys to give you guys a reminder. So thanks again, guys. Hope you guys have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow in the stream.